Bucknutters, welcome into the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, July 17th, 2015. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm happy to be with Bucknuts contributor Jonah Booker. J-Book, welcome into the show, my man.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, as always. You started a very interesting thread on the Front Row message board a couple days ago. We're only 3 weeks away from preseason camp starting, less than 3 weeks now, and I thought you asked a very good question. Put a thread up there on the Front Row message board. Kind of give us your thoughts. What are the top questions in your mind as we head into camp here in less than 3 weeks?
Yeah, we got a couple questions that are pretty looming with this squad, but it's Buckeye problems because you kind of have to weed through all the nonsense to figure out what's actually, the questions. And one of my top questions is, how are these young guys that have been injured for several weeks, how are they going to compete this fall, or are they going to compete this fall? You're talking about a guy on Marshawn Lattimore, Johnny Dixon, James Clark, Dylan Thompson, Berger. Those are all highly rated 4- and 5-star guys coming into the program that have yet to touch the field because of injuries. That's one of my biggest question marks. And I want to see what Dontre Wilson's going to do. We've had some people say that, hey, this guy's hungry. He went to social media recently and said that people have been sleeping on him. He's ready to go. He's healthy. Where is he going to fit into this puzzle? Because you got Curtis Samuel moving out to the H. You're going to have a guy in Paris Campbell who's pushing to get some playing time. Jalen Marshall may slide in and out from the H back out to wide receiver. What's Dontre Wilson going to do this year?
And obviously another huge storyline, J-Book, is defensive tackle. They're fortunate that Adolphus Washington came back for his senior year. He wouldn't have been a first-round pick, but he would have been drafted. I think he would have been maybe a second-round pick, third round at the very worst. I think he would have been a second-rounder, though. But that one tech, that continues to be the big question. Tommy Shutt is penciled in there as the starter, but, some people are opining that Robert Landers could get a shot there as a true freshman. They're going to have other guys in there like Mike Hill. He's going to play that one tech, of course. He's going to be a third-year sophomore. You got to think, now is his time if he's ever going to be a really good player. Give me your thoughts about that D-tackle situation. If you had to guess right now, and J-Book, not even necessarily to start the season, who's going to finish the season as the Buckeyes starting one tech?
It's a great question. It's a huge question going into the season. Urban Meyer last season consistently harped upon the depth at the defensive tackle was lacking. Michael Bennett recently said that he had to take plays off last year because he was so tired going late into the games in the season, and he wasn't able to get rotated in and out. So who's going to replace Bennett down at that defensive tackle? They're probably going to start out with a guy in Tommy Shutt. Is he ready to live up to his height? Is he going to step up? Michael Hill's another 4-star out of South Carolina that he needs to step up. I really like the Robert Landers, the name that you mentioned. But you're talking about some younger guys who really haven't had a lot of game reps. But somebody's going to have to step up. Is Joe Hale going to be healthy enough to provide a little bit of depth in the rotation there? But that's a huge question mark going into fall camp.
Seems like most of what we're talking about is on the defensive side of the football. And some of the people that responded in your thread asked, is Raekwon McMillan ready? That was one of their questions. And to that I say, hell yes, he is. I think we even saw that as a true freshman. What we also saw was Curtis Grant come along and really prove that he should have been the starter last year as a senior, and really was a good, not just a good leader, but a great leader on the national champs. But that didn't take anything away from how well Raekwon McMillan played. I mean, for a true freshman to play as well as he did, I was very impressed. Now as a sophomore, J-Book, now is the guy that's going to be that starter. For the people that are out there wondering about Raekwon McMillan, I understand that because he still needs to prove it. But I will be shocked if he doesn't have a good year. My only question is he going to have a good year or a great year? And I know he's very young still as a sophomore, but I think he's at least going to be good this year and perhaps great this year. We might see a James Laurinaitis-type breakout as a sophomore from Raekwon McMillan.
I agree with you. Raekwon's a guy who played very well as a freshman, but you look at what he has around him. He has an All-American in Darren Lee. He has a solid, heady Josh Perry on his other side. From all indications, is Raekwon has really stepped up his leadership. He's most likely going to be calling the defense in the middle, him and Josh Perry. But that's one of my least worries. I'm pegging Raekwon McMillan to having a potential all Big Ten type season. He's that good. You give him, another off season to train. Lou Fickell has always said he's a junkie in the film room. I'm looking for big things out of Raekwon McMillan.
And then you brought up something else that I thought was very interesting. Tyvis Powell. In one respect, you can see why he is not penciled in, but just penned in as a starter. I mean, this is going to be his third year as a starter if you count his redshirt freshman year when he was the starting nickel until that last game when he moved to safety and Von Bell started at nickel in that Orange Bowl. But I still wonder, just like you do, that Eric Smith just seems like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, to me, Eric Smith seems like the better player. And that being said, I don't see the coaches benching Tyvis because it's almost like he's earned the spot. It would be such a slap in the face, but it is Urban Meyer. The best guy's going to play, you would think. But, man, I can't imagine Eric Smith supplanting Tyvis Powell. In the same breath, I think Eric Smith is the better player. I mean, just what's your thoughts about that Eric Smith-Tyvis Powell battle there, Jay Book?
The question I have to ask is Tyvis Powell going to tackle this year? Has he gotten better? Obviously they got the rugby-style tackling implemented. That's something that's definitely going to benefit Tyvis because he was never really a big thumper. But as far as the ball player, Eric Smith is clearly a better ball hawk than Tyvis Powell. But I agree with you once again. The coaches are not likely going to bench Tyvis Powell. He's a guy that they really love his range, 6'3" out there. He gets the defense a secondary set. But I would like to see Eric Smith slide into some of that nickel role there, see if he can get on the field because he's someone that, he's going to help this team out. He can't be on the bench. Tyvis Powell, I keep going back to the same question. Is he going to tackle this season?
Yeah, we all love Tyvis. I mean, he is probably, other than Darren Lee is my favorite kid to interview on the entire team, and plus Darren Lee is just, not just one of the best players on Ohio State's team. He's flat out one of the best players in college football. I love interviewing Darren Lee, but Tyvis Powell for me is a close second, and I know a lot of media people might put Tyvis Powell first. So charismatic, but he needs to tackle better. And Chris Ash, minced no words during spring, J Book. He said that Tyvis needs to tackle better. They watched the film, and he needs to tackle better. And really didn't throw him under the bus, but, kind of throw up those warning signs that, hey, you definitely need to tackle better. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But I think you make a great point, J Book, when you say Eric Smith is going to play a lot at that nickel. I think Chris Ash, I know he prefers to use corners usually at nickel. I think this might be the exception. I think he's going to use Eric Smith as his nickel. And then, moving on, I want to get your thoughts. I'd be remiss if I didn't get your thoughts on the quarterback situation. This is, it seems like, every passing day something new happens, and we haven't had you on the show in a few weeks. Give me your take here, man. How is this going to shake out? Who's going to be the starter? Is anybody going to move positions like Braxton? Is two quarterbacks going to play? In your opinion right now, how do you think this will shake out this season?
Well, a lot of people say, don't do this. It's going to be the worst in state. But I think they're going to go with two quarterbacks. I think Miller's going to get a crack at the quarterback spot. And then at that point, I think it's going to be a battle between Jones and Barrett. At the end of the season, after the national championship, I was so hyped up that I was saying, Cardell Jones. There's no way Cardell Jones is not going to be in the rotation, if not the starting quarterback. Then as the offseason progressed and you just continue to see the leadership and the way that J.T. Barrett really carries himself, and you look back at the games from last season, you kind of forget how efficient and how good J.T. Barrett was. But to me, I think Braxton Miller is going to be one that's in the mix. If you look at the comments from Urban Meyer recently, he said he's never had a player in his career that he's felt so much gratitude towards because of the way that Miller has sacrificed his body and everything that he's done to the program. So I feel like there's a very sentimental spot in Urban Meyer's heart, and he's going to try to do everything that he can to help Miller get on the field as a quarterback. Now, there's not to say that Miller's shoulder might not hold up, and he may have to move to a different position, but I think you're going to see a situation where you're going to have multiple quarterbacks on the field, especially early on. And I don't think there's going to be a clear-cut starter decided in fall camp. I think it's going to go throughout the season early on where you're going to see multiple quarterbacks, even potentially 3 quarterbacks, getting some type of snaps, and as they continue to get into the grind of the Big Ten, start dwindling it down, because at the end of the day, once you're in practice mode, there's only so many hours and so many reps, and you're going to have to start giving those guys who are going to be the main guy on the center, giving him the majority of the reps to gel with that wide receiver and the offensive line.
Excellent insights from Bucknuts contributor Jonah Booker. Thank you, J-Book, and thanks to all the listeners out there. Really appreciate you guys tuning into the show. Hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend. Take it away, best damn band in the land. Fire, 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 fire.